Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back, and we're going to be reading about something with the social media in Florida. This is kind of what I'm concerned about with typically, mostly with the social media giants and what they're doing. But hopefully, we can get a lot of things going on here and kind of get things resolved at the very least. So let's jump right into it. Appeals court keeps Florida's social media censorship law on hold due to First Amendment concerns. Florida law prohibiting social media companies from deplatforming political candidates will remain blocked, even after a similar law in Texas was allowed to take effect, as a federal appeals court sided Monday with a lower court's ruling against the law and ruled it's substantially likely the policy violates the First Amendment. In my opinion, I don't think it does. Specifically because the social media companies are banning and removing people of one political aisle, and it's not really being like a publisher or what have you. It's just specifically just banning people. And what Ron DeSantis, or I want to say Florida, is doing is that to uh, they're trying to make it where a free platform where you can't just ban people for no actual legitimate reason, and that's a good thing. I would be against Florida's Pacific, I would say, attack or rather approach to it if it was just to ban people for whatever, right, or to have more control. But I think what it is mostly meant to do is that it's to is to actually help people not be removed or banned from the website and have everybody be treated fairly and not have to if a criminal activity is happening that they can actively be able to be treated be banned or investigated for that fact. I could be horribly wrong on that on the whole crime thing, but I am hoping that was also including as well where they can also be removed if there is a crime associated with them. This 11th Circuit Court of Appeals upheld a district court order that blocked SB 7072, which levies fines on any social media platform that have bans or suspends political candidates and publications. A law passed in response to Republicans' fears that the social networks discriminate against conservatives. I would agree, they do. I don't think it should just ban political candidates or publications. I think they shouldn't be able to ban anybody at all, regardless of who it is. Um, that's where I'm kind of seeing a little weird here. Of course, we could go after this. We'll go into the actual blocked thing, and we'll see what it actually says, so we can get a better idea of what the bill would specifically be saying here. The appellate court ruled that social media companies like Facebook and Twitter are private actors whose actions are protected under the First Amendment, meaning that they can take whatever actions they see fit against users. It did allow one aspect of the law to take effect, which requires social media companies to let users who have been deplatformed to access their own data for at least 62 days. Ruling this aspect didn't violate the First Amendment and isn't overly burdensome. Florida had argued the law didn't violate the First Amendment because the tech companies are merely hosting users' comments and shouldn't be allowed to restrict their First Amendment protected speech by banning them. I would also agree with that. Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody said on Twitter the state was pleased the court recognized the state's authority to rein in social media companies and upheld major portions of the law, despite the vast majority of the law still remaining blocked. Okay, so that is a decent step forward. So it looks like half is blocked, but the other half kind of let through. The big number, 250,000. That's the daily fine social networks have to pay under the law if they willfully deplatform a candidate for a statewide political office, along 25,000 per day fine for other candidates. What I would also like to see too is that I would like news outlets to be punished for trying to divide people and start hate, etc., because I believe that a lot of these companies, a lot of the news media outlets that do this is absolutely ridiculous and shouldn't be having down. This is the reason why we have such a divide in this country because of this. And I wholeheartedly believe if you're going to report misinformation, or specifically if you're going to more likely incite violence, which these news outlets have done, then that calls for an actual immediate fine in onto them, so that way they can be punished for, at the very least, be punished for inciting hatred or divisiveness. That should not be allowed, in my personal opinion. Maybe it's getting a little bit muddy into the waters when we're talking about misinformation. But I would also say that misinformation can also lead to confusing the public, and I don't mean like accidental things that happen and stuff like that, where oops, I made an accident here. Let me correct that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like actual information that should not be there just to divide, or something that's completely wrong and we know it's wrong and it's meant to mislead people. That's to where I have an issue with. Of course, I would like to have talked about Rakaya law on that specific aspect on some things, because that would be actually a great discussion. Uh, Florida first enacted a social media law in May 2021 in response to widespread criticism on the right, arguing that big tech companies silence conservatives after platforms like Facebook and Twitter banned President Donald Trump and other high-level Republican politicians. The law was widely expected to be subject to legal challenges, and a district court judge blocked the policy in July. Monday's ruling comes after a different federal appeals court reinstated a similar law in Texas earlier in May. The Fifth Circuit, which is known for being one of the most conservative leading appeals courts in the country, reversed a lower court ruling that halted Texas social media law without comment, allowing the law to once again take effect while the litigation moves forward. What to watch for. Tech groups have asked the Supreme Court to weigh in on Texas social media law and decide whether or not it should stay in effect as a lawsuit against it moves forward. The court hasn't yet weighed in on the issue, and a ruling could come at any time. It's also unclear how Republicans' concerns about Twitter will evolve going forward, as billionaire Elon Musk has vowed to lift Trump's Twitter ban if he takes control of the social network. Trump, for his part, has said he would remain on his own social network, Truth Social, and not go back to Twitter. Tangent. The Florida law initially included a provision that exempted companies with theme parks from being subject to the policy's restrictions, which lawmakers said was crafted to shield Disney, one of the state's biggest employers, from having to comply with the law. Florida lawmakers have since turned on the company after Disney came out against the state's HB 57 law, known by critics as Don't Say Gay law, and got rid of that provision in April, which should have happened. I don't agree anybody wanting to specifically wanting to support children being groomed. So now we'll go here and kind of read a little bit about the law and kind of what goes forth. This is the SB. We want the SB. All right. Here we go. An act relating to social media platforms. This is the SB law, 72. Providing legislative findings, creating 106.72, defining terms prohibiting a social media platform from willfully deplatforming a candidate, providing fines for violations, authorizing social media platforms to provide free advertising for candidates under specified conditions, providing enforcement authority consistent with federal and state law, creating 287-137, defining terms, providing requirements for public contracts and economic incentives related to entities that have been convicted or held civilly liable for antitrust violations, prohibiting a public entity from entering into any type of contract with a person or an affiliate on the antitrust violator vendor list, providing accountability, requiring certain contract documents to contain a specified statement, requiring the Department of Management Services to maintain a list of people or affiliates disqualified from the public contracting and purchasing process, specifying requirements for publishing such a list, providing procedures for placing a person or an affiliate on the list, providing procedural and legal rights for a person or affiliate to challenge placement on the list, etc., as it goes. This is just pretty much saying on those social media platforms on what it what they wanted to do. I think the bill would be fine, specifically if we have, more. We have more clarification on the issue, right? So as long as we have more clarification on the issue, I think we'll kind of understand what's going on here. But I kind of understand what they're talking about in terms of they just want to make it to where they just can't ban politicians and stuff like they did back in 2021 where they removed Trump, which is completely egregious. So, again, I'm not completely against this. I would agree. I'm hoping more so that if this law does come to effect, that it will not have to remove people from law. But it looks like with that, remove people just willy nilly. But again, I think the social media platforms have become way too powerful, and they kind of need to be reined in a little bit. So, that's my opinion. That's it for the video, guys. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.